There once lived, not far from the river Indus, an ancient Persian by the name Ali Hafed. Ali Hafed owned a prosperous farm, had orchards and fields, had money at interest, and was a wealthy, contented man. One day, however, there visited him an ancient Buddhist priest. He sat down by the fire and told the old farmer about diamonds. The old priest told Ali Hafed that if he had one diamond the size of his thumb, he could purchase the county, and if he had a mine of diamonds, he could place his children upon thrones through the influence of their great wealth. Ali Hafed heard all about diamonds, how much they were worth, and went to bed that night a poor man. He had not lost anything, but he was poor because he was discontented, and discontented because he felt he was poor. He said, "I want a mine of diamonds," and he lay awake all night. Early in the morning, he arose to search the world for diamonds. So he sold his farm, collected his money, left his family in the charge of a neighbor, and away he went in search of diamonds. He searched for many long years, but never found his diamonds. At last, when his money was all spent and he was in rags, wretchedness, and poverty, he stood on the ocean shore, and the poor, suffering man could not resist the awful temptation to cast himself into the incoming tide. Meanwhile, the man who purchased Ali Hafed's farm was watering his camel when he noticed a curious flash of light from the white sands of the stream. He pulled out a black stone that reflected all the hues of the rainbow. He took the pebble into the house, put it on the mantle, and forgot all about it. A few days later, the same old priest came in to visit Ali Hafed's successor, and the moment he entered the room, he saw that flash of light on the mantle and shouted, "This is a diamond!" Excited, together they rushed out into that old garden and stirred up the white sands of the stream with their fingers, and there were more diamonds. Thus was found the diamond mine of Golconda, the most magnificent diamond mine in the history of the world, which was the source of the Hope Diamond, as well as the crown jewels of England and Russia. If only Ali Hafed could have realized what treasures had lain all around him. Do we recognize the treasures around us, our families, the friends sitting all around us and in the bleachers watching us, the education that has been endowed upon us, and the teachers that have labored so long to give it to us? Today, as we emerge from our youth to seek our fortunes in the world, may we all decide to be grateful for what we have. The longer I have lived, the more I have come to realize that no one can be truly happy without recognizing the value of the treasures around them. If not, we will end like Ali Hafed, miserable and poor, despite being surrounded by treasures unimaginable. When I was 11 years old, my father and I accompanied Mitchell Peart and his father and brother on a bicycle trip. We began in West Yellowstone and were attempting to ride all the way home to Utah. With our supplies and saddlebags, we slept on tarps, in parks and in parking lots, and averaged about 75 miles a day. On our longest day, we were supposed to go 90 miles before stopping. However, when we arrived at the spot on the map where we were supposed to sleep and hopefully get some food, there was only an abandoned trailer park. With the sun setting, hunger eating my insides, 40 pounds of gear on my bike, and 90 miles already behind me, my 11-year-old self was daunted by the prospect of riding 25 more miles to the next town. In fact, I was seriously tempted to sit down and cry. I cannot overstate the impact of the decision that I made next and the impact it has had on my life. I chose to have a good attitude. As we started riding, I began singing trail songs, imagining I was piloting a fighter jet instead of a bike, daydreaming about soccer, pretty much anything to keep my mind off the pain. The amazing thing, it worked. I forgot about the pain as I focused on being happy. To this day, when I am confronted with a difficult or painful situation, I think back to this experience and commit myself to approaching it with a song in my heart and a smile on my face. Abraham Lincoln once stated that we are as happy as we decide to be. I learned from my biking experience that I can choose to be happy. When most people think of happiness, however, they think of it as a largely self-oriented desire. However, I am here to tell you that happiness is actually altruistic and selfless in nature. In fact, happiness, or at least acting happy, is a moral obligation. We owe it to the people around us to be as happy as possible. How pleasant is it to be around backbiting friends, miserable parents, or a chronically grumpy teacher? As individuals, we should regard a bad mood the same way we would bad breath or body odor. Get rid of it before going into public, please. Now, this doesn't mean we shouldn't still share our feelings with our friends or our spouse or our parents, but it does mean that we should not inflict our bad mood upon them. Acting happy is a decision. How many times has a member of your family, or has your family been in an argument when the doorbell rings and the member of your family that goes to open the front door puts on a happy face before closing the door once again? In another example, if I was to offer you $100,000 to be in a good mood for an entire week, could you do it? Of course you could, and so could anybody else in this room. The wonderful thing about choosing to act happy is that if we make the choice to act happy, it will have a greater effect on our negative feelings than our negative feelings will have on our behavior. Basically, if we choose to act happy, we'll become happier inside. In the end, all of us will feel an entire spectrum of emotions every day. But how much better would the world be if everyone put on a happy countenance to the people around them? Think of Nazis or terrorists or members of drug cartels. Great acts of evil are not done by happy people. On the other hand, there are countless examples of people who have struggled through cancer or depression or being the victim of a heinous past crime, and yet have chosen to put on a happy countenance and are able to positively affect the world around them. Think about Helen Keller. Blind and deaf since almost birth, isolated from almost all interaction with the people around her, and yet she was still able to overcome and allow her positive spirit to shine from within her and literally affect millions of people for good. How about Abraham Lincoln, considered to be one of the greatest presidents in United States history, and also regarded to be one of the funniest? Abraham Lincoln suffered from chronic depression. However, he overcame through a brilliant sense of humor and sheer force of will, and preserved the America that has blessed our lives so much today. Acting happy is truly a choice, and it is one that we are morally obligated to make. It is my challenge to everyone within the sound of my voice to make the choice to show happiness to the people around them and thus become happier themselves. This is a great event we are celebrating, a commencement, a rite of passage, a transition to bigger and better things. Bingham's class of 2012 will emerge into the world and accomplish some amazing things. However, these things will be meaningless if we sacrifice our happiness and the happiness of the people around us in our pursuits. I have tried to share with you some of the secrets to happiness that I have found in my life. Gratitude, a positive attitude, choosing to serve others by being happy ourselves. I have seen the incredible effects of these in my life. I would like to thank Russell Conwell and Dennis Prager for use of some of their stories and ideas. I love and respect you, class of 2012, and I wish you the greatest of happiness as we go our separate ways. Thank you.